In Zurich, 2019, the nights are sterile. The city hums beneath a layer of fog, a lattice of streets that gleam wet and indifferent under sodium lights. No one notices the basement beneath the financial tower on Limit Quay, the one whose existence is acknowledged only by a delivery keypad and a half-forgotten elevator code. And it is here, in the belly of a building that sees nothing but ledgers and screens, that Marcus Thorne performs his rituals. The server room is a cathedral of cold air. Fans spin like the wings of mechanical angels, circulating a sterile breeze that scratches against the skin, whispering of meticulous order. The monitors glow in icy arcs of data, streams of code that pulse with life but never with consciousness. Here, Marcus moves with precision. A man alone in his universe, each keystroke deliberate, each glance at a screen a meditation. He is an architect, and the system before him is his opus, a structure built on logic, beauty, and a secret he alone understands. He works in silence while Zurich sleeps. Outside, trams sweep past empty streets. Inside, a single humming machine keeps time. Marcus imagines himself constructing a cathedral, one he knows will one day be burned. Each algorithm, each instruction is a stone laid with care, a brick in a fortress no one else will see. His fingers hover above the keyboard as if conducting a symphony, but one written for no audience. This is the genesis of the system, a network designed to predict, to calculate, to dominate. But hidden within the folds of logic is a fracture, an imperfection masked as a safeguard. Marcus calls it the polite glitch, a paradox, polite because it waits until the perfect moment to expose the weakness, glitch because it is deadly in its subtlety. He believed, with a conviction bordering on reverence, that systems do not fail because of math. They fail because of human ego. Pride, arrogance, every CEO, every manager, every programmer too impatient to read the fine print was a potential architect of their own collapse. And so, Marcus buried the instruction deep. So deep it looked like a safety feature, a benign relic in the architecture. But it was a trap, hidden, polite, waiting. He called it the art of the hidden trap, each line meticulously obfuscated, each function a miniature labyrinth. Not for destruction, not for revenge, but for clarity. A reminder that intelligence without humility is a liability. And Marcus Thorne, he of the grey temples, the precise hands, the mind sharper than the finest scalpel, was the only one who could navigate it without faltering. And then came betrayal, not sudden, not dramatic, but inevitable. It took place in a room whose walls gleamed with sterilized arrogance, where the air was conditioned to perfection and yet carried the chill of calculated indifference. Sterling Vale, CEO and architect of the dilution, did not look Marcus in the eye. The room smelled of leather chairs and subtle cologne, a perfume meant to mask hesitation, to mask conscience. The meeting was clinical, words were precise, contracts were sharp. Marcus felt them encircle him like surgical clamps, each signature a scalpel cut to his authority, each clause a measure of control wrested from the creator. Sterling's voice was calm, too calm, every syllable measured to strip away identity without a fight. And Marcus, trained to see patterns in chaos, recognized the inevitability. The sound echoed in the sterile room, louder than words, a click, a blink, a sentence in a language he had no intention of hearing. He was diluted from the very company he had built, erased, a ghost walking among the living. And in that moment, Marcus understood the first law of human systems. They forgive no architect who builds a cathedral too well, who places stones that only the wise can read, who leaves behind secrets too polite to strike immediately. And then he left. The boardroom doors hissed shut. The elevator descended. The cold air of Zurich greeted him once more. Outside, the city slept, indifferent as always. Inside him, a calculus of patience, of architecture, of revenge began to stir. Not yet executed, not yet spoken, but waiting. This is the origin, the creation of a system that knew its creator intimately. The philosophy of a polite glitch. The cost of ego measured in millions. And a man who, though erased from the ledger of his own company, carries with him the blueprint of inevitability. The sound echoed in the sterile room, louder than words. A click, a blink, a sentence in a language he had no intention of hearing. He was diluted from the very company he had built. Erased, a ghost walking among the living. And in that moment, Marcus understood the first law of human systems. They forgive no architect who builds a cathedral too well, who places stones that only the wise can read, who leaves behind secrets too polite to strike immediately. And then he left. The boardroom doors hissed shut. The elevator descended. The cold air of Zurich greeted him once more. Outside, the city slept, indifferent as always. Inside him, a calculus of patience, of architecture, of revenge began to stir. Not yet executed, not yet spoken, but waiting. This is the origin, the creation of a system that knew its creator intimately. The philosophy of a polite glitch. The cost of ego measured in millions. And a man who, though erased from the ledger of his own company, carries with him the blueprint of inevitability. Zurich sleeps under a drizzle of rain, unaware of the subtle tremor beneath its perfect facades. Somewhere above, in a penthouse that tastes of leather and rare wood, Sterling Vale stares at his screens. The lights flicker with a frantic insistence, numbers spinning and halting in a rhythm that mocks his authority. At 2:17 a.m., the system hesitates. The money is not lost. It has not disappeared. It waits, polite and deliberate, refusing the commands of a man who believes he holds dominion over its flow. This hesitation is more than a pause. It is a self-referencing loop, a trap nestled deep within the architecture of code, waiting for a permission Sterling no longer possesses. Every command he issues returns like an echo from a chamber with no walls. Servers designed for redundancy loop endlessly, each iteration polite, each response a whisper of inevitability. Sterling leans closer, frustration curves his spine. The empire he constructed with precise hands falters under its own sophistication, mocking the very man who built it. 2 hours pass in a blur of futile activity. Analysts on the phones, IT teams scrambling, security protocols cycling endlessly, all moving as though in a nightmare of repetition. Each attempt to reclaim control feels like striking one's own shadow. Every command rebounds, leaving Sterling more aware of the fragility beneath his certainty. And still, the system waits. Polite, patient, calculating the arrogance of the man who believes he commands it. And then the line is made. Not by Sterling, not by invitation, but by the architect himself, Marcus Thorne. The call threads through encrypted channels, a conduit of inevitability. Sterling grips the phone in the back of a Maybach idling at the curb, its engine a soft hum beneath the rhythm of rain. Marcus, by contrast, is in a public park at dawn, feeding birds, mist curling around lampposts as the city begins to stir, oblivious to the battle of intellects about to unfold. Sterling begins with authority, his words sharp, clipped, meant to assert dominance over a network that defies him. He invokes logic, charts, servers, redundancy, attempting to anchor reality with the precision of a man trained to control systems. Marcus does not respond in kind. He does not rise to anger, does not justify. His presence is an observation, a constant reminder that authority is meaningless when comprehension is infinite. The discussion turns philosophical, though Sterling does not know it. He offers a transfer, $50 million, believing the currency of wealth can tether the architect, can compel obedience. Marcus remains still, calm, almost bored. The money is never the bribe, it is the trigger, a mechanism embedded in polite logic, waiting for the arrogance of a man who measures power in zeros and decimals. Sterling, unaware, believes he negotiates leverage, while Marcus observes the unfolding consequences of inevitability. Sterling's mind races, arguing with himself, with the system, with the absent presence on the line. He tries logic, urgency, desperation. Marcus's responses are calm, meditative, philosophical, invoking gravity, architecture, the nature of power. Sterling's wealth, his servers, his empire, mass without weight. Marcus, weight without mass. A man who has nothing moves differently than a man who has everything. Sterling's instinct tells him to grasp, to control, to bend the network to his will. Marcus's philosophy unmasks the illusion. Control is an illusion. Understanding is the true leverage. Minutes stretch into hours. Sterling hesitates. Sweat traces sharp lines along his temples. Fingers hover over the transfer button. Marcus, patient, watches the city awaken, the birds rise, the mist dissolve, every gesture measured, every breath deliberate. The system too waits, polite, calculating, self-referencing, silent. The moment arrives, Sterling clicks, $50 million transferred. The polite glitch, dormant, stirs. Marcus hangs up. A single click punctuates the dawn. Sterling leans back in disbelief, rain masking the sound of his own uncertainty. He does not yet understand. He does not yet perceive the magnitude of the chain he has activated. The system awakens, polite, deliberate, inexorable. And here, the scene pauses. A man who had nothing has moved the hand of a man with everything. Architecture, inevitability, philosophy. The threads interweave, slow and unyielding. Sterling Vale, powerful, wealthy, confident, realizes too late that he is no longer the architect. He is the instrument. Marcus Thorne, creator and observer, has set the first domino. The disclosure is in motion. The polite glitch has awakened. And the city, ever indifferent, waits to witness what comes next. The $50 million moved, clicked, transferred. But the numbers themselves were nothing. The transaction was a digital signature, an imprint of Sterling Vale's hubris, a confession encoded in the loops he had built and failed to understand. By moving that specific sum through that specific path, he had unwittingly acknowledged every manipulation, every margin exploited, every invisible lever of the market he had assumed under his control. The system did not judge, it merely recorded, routed, and delivered the truth. In the next 60 minutes, the revelation spread, not as a crash, not as a headline screaming disaster, but as a meticulous, unstoppable cascade. Emails zipped from internal servers to regulators, to the Department of Justice, to every major financial press outlet across continents. Internal logs, tens of thousands, each a microscopic confession, each a reflection of Sterling's certainty turned liability. And the market itself did not fall. It vanished. Not a line plunging, but a vanishing point. A quiet disappearance that made the world blink and wonder if they had been looking at the wrong charts all along. Sterling Vale sits in his Maybach. The car hums faintly beneath him, idling. Outside, the driver's hands grip nothing, hands frozen, doors locked from the outside by the very security team Sterling had trusted. No one enters, no one obeys. Sterling, once master of an empire, is now a liability. Every gesture, every calculation, every ounce of authority he believed he possessed has been nullified. The hum of the engine is louder than the ringing silence in his mind. And somewhere else, the sun rises over a quiet park. Marcus Thorne walks slowly, footsteps measured, unhurried. Birds scatter at his passing. The day blooms, unaware of the digital earthquake left in its wake. He pauses for a moment, letting the gold light trace the lines of his face, and in the cold clarity of inevitability, he acknowledges one truth. The system does not care if you are a king. It only cares if the math adds up. Sterling Vale was not the disease, he was the symptom, a lesson in arrogance wrapped in wealth. The $50 million, the polite glitch, the vanishing point. None of it matters in isolation. In the next chapter, another figure emerges, the one who gave Sterling the money, the first spark of an inevitability now set into motion. The game continues, and the city remains indifferent, waiting, as it always does, for the architects and the ghosts,